What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Zamboni. I am an herbalist and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. Thank you so much for being here. I know I say that shit every week. I say thank you every week. It's because I mean it every week. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful to have this opportunity. That I'm so grateful to you all for all of the support. Some of y'all support me via Venmo, Cash App, PayPal. You send a donation or a tip. That's super helpful. Some of y'all hit this little save button in the corner. Just that is super helpful. If you send it to a friend, hella helpful. This is all very helpful to me, and it makes sure that I am able to continue doing this work. So thank you all so much for being here. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. It is the last week of January. And, generally when we make it to the last week of January, then we start to think about moving into Aquarius, moving sort of like out of all of the Capricorn sort of dark. Capricorn is the darkest sign of the zodiac. You know what I mean? In the northern hemisphere, which is where astrology was created, it's the darkest time of year. We get the solstice, and that's at the beginning of Capricorn, and that's the darkest time of year. It's the time when we have more night than any other time of year. And so there's this darkness component to Capricorn. Then as the sun moves into Aquarius, it's like, all right, we're just going to be all right. We got this. We're moving forward a little bit. There's like ways of moving in the world, and there's new thoughts to be had. Aquarius loves some new thoughts and this kind of thing. But what we got this year is actually a return to the Capricorn things. So Venus has been retrograde in Capricorn for a while now, but it's been many weeks. I don't know about you, but this shit has been rough on me. Venus, we typically think about Venus as the way that things feel, and typically wanting things to feel good, feel harmonious, or feel cooperation or togetherness or something like this. Venus retrograde tends to sort of put that on its head and be like, well, things are a little bit divisive, or things are difficult. It's hard to find the harmony. It's hard to find the togetherness, these kinds of things. So Venus has been retrograde for a while. Venus this week is going to station direct and is going to begin to move forward again. This is typically a helpful situation. We typically like this, it sort of, if we have spent the last 6 weeks looking into all of the things that make us feel weird, it's a way for us to find what we want by experiencing things that we dislike, right? If we've been going through that process, then moving forward again, it's like, okay, so I've encountered these things that I don't like so much, so now I can move forward with this new understanding, right? And so we typically like that. Now, the other things that are happening here with not only Venus retrograde in Capricorn, but we've also got Mercury retrograde has moved back into Capricorn. So Mercury retrograde was in Aquarius, and then stationed retrograde conjunct Saturn is now moving backwards and is going to cross that sign boundary from Aquarius back into Capricorn. So whatever we were doing in Capricorn is back relevant again. And actually Mercury is going to move back and is going to conjoin Pluto, that same Pluto that has been a strong theme throughout Venus retrograde as well. So all of these underworld themes and all this, like death, and whenever I think about Pluto and underworld things, it's like funky, it's smelly, it's compost, it's shit, it's the things that it's sewery, right? It's the things that you kind of hope will just kind of disappear. And sometimes they do, and sometimes they don't. Sometimes that shit backs up and you have to deal with it, and it's really visceral. Sometimes maybe you have a baby or an old person or a sick person around you in your life or something like that, and it becomes very prevalent in your life when like having to deal with shit and smelly things and things that are sort of uncomfortable, and there's usually a strong emotional component to it. One of the things that I mentioned in my month ahead forecast, which I just released this past week, is the smell of a thing is really resonant, right? And there's something really real and visceral about that, and that's why shit comes up, or funk, for example, right? Zamboni funk. And I see myself as being in a lineage from P-Funk, and on down. P-Funk is not the beginning of the lineage, but like from that space, right? And so it's that funky, that P-U, ooh, you know? And so when you, you get that like stank face going on whenever the music is funky, right? But then from there, we can also speak to the kind of visceral, emotional quality that Pluto brings to things, and that Venus retrograde conjunct Pluto is going to bring to things. Mercury retrograde coming in to conjoin that Pluto is likely to bring all that shit up again. We're not done with this stuff. And we wouldn't be done anyway, even if it was just Venus, because Venus still has to move forward and go back through all that shit again. So we're gonna, this is another moment where we're going to look through all this stuff. It's been sort of one moment like this after the next for the past 6 weeks. We had Venus stationing retrograde, and then we had this big full moon in Cancer, which was opposite to Pluto in Capricorn. There's now we're going to move into Mercury retrograde conjunct Pluto in Capricorn. Then Venus is going to move forward and is going to conjoin Pluto in Capricorn. When that happens as well, the other thing that we need to talk about this week is that Mars is moving from Sagittarius into Capricorn. So everybody is moving into Capricorn from both sides. We got folks coming in from the Aquarius side, and we got folks coming in from the Sagittarius side. And we have some stirring up going on with Venus turning around in Capricorn as well. So all of the Capricorn stuff really wants to come out super strongly. As Venus turns direct, then we typically like to think about Venus sort of like having maybe a solution to the problem or coming around a resolution in some kind of way. As we see it this time, then Mars is going to come in and hang out with that Venus. Now, Mars in Capricorn, this is a really strong dignity shift for Mars. Mars really likes being in Capricorn. And not only does Mars like being in Capricorn, but so one of the reasons that Mars likes being in Capricorn is because Mars can be too much sometimes. Like Mars is the action planet. Mars is associated with rage and redness and inflammation and doing the most in whatever way, right? And so Mars usually needs a problem to solve. That's one of the best ways to get Mars moving in a direction that's helpful. We can also think about like exercise and sweating and these kinds of things. I talk about this sort of stuff a lot. So this is what Mars likes to do, but Mars tends toward doing too much, right? But then you put Mars into Capricorn, and Capricorn is really measured. Capricorn is really cares about the rules and like wants there to be a strong infrastructure for the thing, right? So there's all this Mars going on, but if we put some blinders on him, then maybe he won't fuck shit up so much, right? And so that's why Mars is exalted in Capricorn. This is a really good Mars placement. So a strong Mars with that Venus looks like a really effective Mars, like a Mars that is and Mars and Venus, these are our desire planets. They're our passion planets. They're sometimes called the personal planets. They have to do with how you personally are going to feel in your own heart of hearts, right? We can think about passions as driving martial action. We can think about passions as also pushing our desires in some ways, the things that we pull toward us. If we think about Mars as pushing, we can think about Venus as pulling. And the things that we pull toward us in our lives are going to be affected on this emotional level with Venus and Mars here together. So with Venus and Mars together, it feels really passionate. It feels like the feeling of the thing, the smell of the thing, feels like it's really strong and is likely to be motivating to us. Now, from the martial direction, having all this Venus here and having, even with the Pluto there and Mercury retrograde and all this, and Mercury is only going to be retrograde for another week, but, all this here, this looks pretty good from the Mars perspective. It looks like a lot of energy. It looks like a lot of focus, a lot of drive, a lot of like, all right, it's time to handle this shit. Let's go in there and do it. So it's a good time to do Mars things, especially while Mars is in Capricorn for the next few weeks here. Now, Venus, from the Venus perspective, it's still not comfortable, right? We want Venus generally, when we think about Venus, we want things to be comfortable. We want things to feel good. We want things to be harmonious and smoothly working together and cooperative and like, it hugs and all this sort of stuff, right? This is not the kind of Venus that we get here with this Mars. Maybe it's hot. you know, it could be sexy. Mars and Venus together is frequently, you know, in that kind of like lusty space, you know what I mean? The passionate drives, right? And the visceral, the smell of the thing, right? Like all this sort of stuff can come up here, can come up, get it? Huh? But at the same time, like this isn't comfortable. This isn't chilling. This isn't like, oh, it just feels good. The way that we typically like for the Venus. So we wouldn't expect the Venus things to just like get better because Venus is suddenly moving direct now, right? What we would expect is strong motivators to move toward whatever the desires are that have come up through Venus retrograde. Venus retrograde as well as Mercury retrograde have been really good for like, well, what do I really want here, you know? And I've been really working with that deeply in my own practice as well, right? I talk about this shit every week, and it's mostly because I'm talking to me. I'm trying to get this shit working out for myself. And what I've noticed throughout Venus retrograde is a lack of imagination on my part. I sometimes don't think that it's possible for good things to be happening to me. And so I limit myself in doing that in my own life. I limit myself because I don't think that it's possible or something like this. And so one of the things that I've been really thinking with, especially with that Mercury Cazimi with the sun that we got last week, was like, what are my real ideals here? What am I really going to try to do? And how am I going to move toward that? As the sun has been in the same side as Saturn as well, right? Sun, Saturn, we're looking at getting ends in accordance with the means, right? Making sure that my daily habits and routines are moving toward the visions that I would like to take place. But really, I have to work on that vision. How am I going to work? What am I actually working toward? Well, one of the ways that I've been thinking with that is like, okay, so if I just do what I do now, then what does that work toward, right? We can do the little thought experiment and see like, okay, where does this lead in 3, 5 years, 10 years, 30 years, whatever it is. Like if we're thinking Saturn, we got to think long term, right? But so then that's an option. And then think through that and be like, all right, well, so what else can we do, right? And if I don't like where that goes for whatever reason, then how can I reroute that by changing my daily habits? And so the way that I see this Venus-Mars, and we get this Venus-Mars for a few weeks, right? Mars is going to come and catch up with that Venus, and then they're just going to hang out together. It's just going to be Venus-Mars conjunct within a degree for it's like 6 weeks or something crazy. So throughout that 6-week period, we can expect some motivation. We can expect some drive. Now, Mars is not the easy motivation. Mars is sharp. Right? Mars is the motivation of you sit down in a chair and you find a tack in that chair, and that tack makes you get your ass up, right? It's not because it's fun. It's not because it feels good. It's because your ass needs to get out that chair. And so that is the kind of thing that we're likely looking forward to throughout this time. So it's a really good time. Again, lace up your boots because all right, never mind. We don't need a Biggie song right now. I'm just saying it's about to go down, and I am getting ready for it. Are you getting ready for it? I hope you are. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for hanging out, listening to me for 15 minutes at a time. I know I get rambly. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for hanging out with me. Thank you for coming on the journey with me, getting on my Patreon, for example, where we work on imagination and desires and having a safe space to have our desires and work towards our goals and all of these things. Thank you for being a part of that. Thank you for sending me a tip. Thank you for sending me a heart emoji or just sending me support wherever you got it. I super appreciate, and it's just wonderful to be a part of this community. Thank you. I got to stop rambling now. Have a good week.